Hey everybody, welcome back to the Blue Collar Beer Gourmet. My name is Chris. I'm the Blue Collar Beer Gourmet. I like to review craft beers. I don't like to pay a lot doing it, and so the beers that I review on this channel usually come in around the $2 price range. Today's beer is kind of an exception because it was actually a gift given to me by my friend Tony. Tony, I know you said you didn't want me to review this, but I've got to. Otherwise, honestly, it's never going to get drunk. It's just going to stay in the back of the fridge. And today's beer is a local beer. It is one that is out of production, and some may be asking why I'd bother to review a beer that's out of production. Well, the truth is, just because it's out of production doesn't mean it wouldn't come back. And the selection today is the Bad Beat Brewing Fancy AF IPA. And I think most of us know what AF is. If you don't, it's as well. What would you think the F would stand for? Anyway, this 12-ounce can, as I said, I don't have a price for it. Normally I do. Bad Beat Brewing is a local brewery out of Henderson, and here's the deal. I've got next to no information on this, gang. Only one of my friends reviewed this beer. It was my friend Mr. Gone V6. The only reason he got that beer is because Tony and I sent it to him in Indiana. 178 people total reviewed this beer on Untapped, gave it a 3.57. Beer Advocate doesn't even have a single review of it. Has a 5.2 ABV. Normally, IPAs usually come in around the 5.5 to 7.5 range, so this is actually a little low for ABV rather. Do not have IBUs on this. Went to the website. Of course, you know it's no longer in production, so you're not seeing any more of it. So they don't have any information on it on the website. And sometimes you can go to Untapped and see if somebody's added IBUs there. Nobody has. So I have no idea how many IBUs we're actually looking at on this beer. I don't have even a brewed on date or a best by date. What little information I can give you, gang, is that they used English ale yeast, excuse me, Pilsen and flaked barley malts, and they used Laurel, Amarillo, and Centennial hops. So there you have it. Okay, I'm gonna crack this bad boy open. I'm gonna be using my stemmed IPA glass from Stone Brewery, and it got some serious foam on the top of here. I think I may have left it in the back of the fridge a little too long. So let's start pouring. It's not the best pour because of the foam coming out of the can, but let's see if I can try and rectify that a little bit. And there we have it. A lot of hop smell coming through on that. Definitely did smell the Pilsen yeast. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Pilsners. In fact, they're my favorite light beer variety. But you have to admit that the yeast smells a little, well, there's no other word for it, sewagey. Sometimes it smells sort of sewagey. And even sulfur. Sulfur can oftentimes come through in the bouquet. Rarely do you taste it in the beer. But that's about Pilsners. This is an IPA. And gang, I'm here to tell you the next couple of beers are going to be foreign beers, but after that, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of IPAs. As I said, I like to keep my beers around the $2 range. Last, Nancy and I went to Total and looked for beers, and it was just a glut of IPAs. And, you know, honestly, until the brewers start deciding to start venturing out a little bit, I'm afraid that's what we're in for. It's a very popular variety, and apparently it's very cheap because everybody's making them. And I love IPAs. Don't get me wrong. I love bitter beers, but I'm getting a little tired of this. Now, in regards to this beer, this has what I would call medium-high carbonation. It's not crazy carbonation, but it is rather high. This head seems kind of flimsy. I don't think it's going to be lasting too much longer. Um, this is a very, very light color. So actually what you're seeing here is even, what you're seeing on camera is actually a darker color than it truly is. Bring it up to the beard wipe, as it's called, and get more of that Pilsen yeast. That makes way for the hop profile. Lots and lots of hops in this. Well, I don't see any reason to keep pontificating. Let's get to drinking. Cheers. Mmm, that's good. That's a good IPA, gang. Really, really good. No alcohol burn. I'd say a low mouthfeel, not particularly spiky. Not overly bitter either. I can see why the IBUs weren't listed. This isn't particularly high IBUs. Of course, with the 5.2 ABV, I wasn't expecting much of an alcohol burn, and there isn't one. Um, this is actually kind of creamy. little piney, not so much the citrusy, but it is very piney in terms of the hops. Not a crazy mouthfeel, but man, this is just a tasty beer. The Mostly what you taste is hops. I mean, I really, it's difficult for me to uh, put much more into words other than to say that it has a high hop profile. The hops are what's definitely coming through on this beer. It is in fact an IPA, and yet it's not overly bitter. I mean, so if you only like your IPAs to have IBUs of 80 or more, I don't know that this is going to satisfy you. But if you're a fan of IPAs, I think you're going to like this. I don't know that the uninitiated are going to like this very much. So if you're trying to develop a taste for IPA, this might be a little too IPA for non-IPA people. I feel like I'm really falling short in explaining the flavor of this beer, other than saying it's just good. It's like I said, the hop profile is very strong. Um, as you can see, that head is pretty much gone. So as I said, the head was wispy, and yet somehow it has a creamy aftertaste to it. It's a hell of a beer. I mean, I would give it a 4.0, but it came in a can, so it's going to get a 4.25. Now, as I said, this is out of production, and it is from this. It's the Bad Beats Fancy AF beer, but that doesn't mean that they won't be bringing it back sometime. So that's why I review beers sometimes that are out of production. So gang, if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe and comment. Let me know what I could do to improve. And until next time, drink good beer. Don't break the bank doing it. Cheers.